Guys, we know why Asian Americans should get into Harvard at disproportionate rates. It's because they study twice as many hours as the average American. It's not because of their race. It's because of their culture. It's because of their family values. Academic excellence, that should be prioritized. Those should be the values that schools like Harvard and Chapel Hill, supposedly elite schools and academic programs, should be valuing in an applicant, not race.
The question is whether race can be an added consideration, a tipping point.
No, the standard is lowered. The standard is lowered. The standard is lowered as the student premier admissions data shows. An Asian has to score 273 points higher on the SAT to have the same chance of admission as a Black person.
I want to bring in now Kenny Xu, president of Color Us United, a group that advocates against affirmative action. He's also a member of the board for Students for Fair Admissions. That's the group that brought this case against Harvard and the University of North Carolina. Kenny, thank you for joining us. So today's ruling obviously is one that you were hoping for, arguing that the rules in place that support affirmative action were unfair to Asian Americans. So from a practical perspective, how does today's decision help Asian American students looking to get into elite colleges?
I just want to say I'm ecstatic about this decision. It means that Asian Americans can finally get treated on their merits. We know why Asian Americans should get into Harvard at disproportionate rates. It's because they study twice as many hours as the average American. It's not because of their race. It's because of their culture. It's because of their family values. Academic excellence, that should be prioritized. Those should be the values that schools like Harvard and Chapel Hill, supposedly elite schools and academic programs, should be valuing in an applicant, not race.
I'm glad he said it. It's a cultural thing. I'm glad he said it. Stop making excuses and expecting outcomes for the work you didn't put in. It's not about race. It's about what your culture promotes. If your culture promotes music, entertainment, sports, court jester nonsense, then that's what's going to happen. If your culture promotes education, scholastics, being a productive member of your community, then you're going to succeed.
So you've argued also that Harvard and other colleges should get rid of their legacy admissions, which also gives people points for having a parent that went to that school. That's not happening here. I wonder why not challenge that, which is also presumptively an obstacle for Asian Americans being treated fairly in the admissions process.
Hi guys, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And check out my channel for content just like this.
Well, I hope you followed the case, but Students for Fair Admissions has challenged legacy admissions repeatedly over and over again. In fact, we argued that the way that Harvard could implement some of their diversity policies without discriminating against Asian Americans is to get rid of legacy admissions, which, as you know, disproportionately privilege white applicants. In fact, 33% of Harvard students who are white are legacy, and they have a 5 times more likely chance of getting in if you are legacy. So you really want to ensure diversity in admissions? Get rid of legacy admissions.
Why can't there exist pure institutions where everyone agrees these are the rules, there's no shortcuts, you do the work, you get up there? That's what it should be. A high-functioning environment where everyone respects each other because everyone knows if you're there, you did the work. Anything short of that is just an impure institution. It should be a pure meritocracy. And if you're complaining about that and you don't like meritocracy, you're admitting that you lack the capacity to compete. You need to analyze that. Analyze those things that make you feel you can't compete with other people. It might be culture. It might be personal responsibility. It might be a whole host of reasons outside of the system is bad and wants to keep you down.
You heard today President Biden expressing some concerns over socioeconomic factors and inequality being made worse given this decision. He also presented what he called basically a way forward. I wonder if you take race out of the picture and you do what the president is suggesting, taking socioeconomic status into consideration, do you think that that would be fair to Asian American students as well?
No, I don't. I think that admissions should be only based on merit. And the reason why is because why are we asking a university to calculate somebody's level of adversity? I think that that sets a very bad precedent for anybody trying to get into college. We should be treated on the basis of our merits. We should be treated on the basis of how hard we work, our study, our SAT scores, our grades. A name-blind, race-blind process is what I would advocate for as president of Color Us United.
They don't want equality. They've proven it. They want special handouts. They want privilege. They want little bags of goodies. And they can't seem to fathom that those same bags of goodies are going to be what keeps you down. If you don't allow an animal to learn how to hunt and you just keep feeding them, they lose the ability to hunt. So if you keep looking for bags of goodies, that's going to continue to enable your descent into mediocrity.
Can I ask you though, I mean, colleges, obviously they care about grades and SAT scores, but they also are filling universities of people, human beings who have other factors that they bring to the table. Why is it not okay for them to consider those things?
I'm saying if you're going to consider those things, you should consider them without respect to race.
Sure.
So as you know, a lot of Asian Americans.
I think that that's exactly right. But socioeconomic status doesn't. If you take race out of it, let's call it socioeconomic status, where whether or not they grew up wealthy or poor. Is that not something that colleges might have an interest in considering?
Yes, people have other factors, but there needs to be a standard. You can have a bunch of different people meet a standard. No one's saying you can't be different. They're just saying like there needs to be a baseline standard. White, black, purple, orange, whatever you want to be. You're literally making the argument that groups of people who can't meet the standard are less intelligent. You're making the argument that other groups of people lack the level of intelligence to make it there. So they need to factor in other things. They never sit and think about what they're saying.
You should consider the success of an applicant. Because of affirmative action, Black Americans graduate from law school at the bottom 25% of their classes, largely speaking. And we don't want that. We want Black students to succeed. We want every student to succeed, low-income students to succeed. But you have to put them in scenarios, in places where they're likely to succeed. And lowering your standard to admit somebody of a socioeconomic status or race would not help them do that. In fact, it would harm their graduation rate and excellence.
Well, as the case also points out, the standard isn't necessarily lowered because students are all admitted. The question is whether race can be an added consideration, a tipping point in some of these cases.
The standard is lowered.
The
standard is lowered as the student merit admissions data shows. An Asian has to score 273 points higher on the SAT to have the same chance of admission as a Black person. So the standard is lowered for Black Americans.
Kenny Xu, thank you for your perspective. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Take a second to think about the logical conclusion of your beliefs. When you explain these people's beliefs to them, they have a hard time accepting it. I know it doesn't sound nice, but that's what it is. The standards are lowered if you're advocating for special privileges for people who can't meet the standard. You are, by definition, lowering the standard. Sad, sickening. Do better. But anyways, that's a video. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.